The story of the man in the cave. A true story from Hadith, Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. One day, 3 men were traveling together when a terrible storm forced them to take shelter in a cave. As they sat inside, a large boulder fell from the mountain and completely sealed the entrance. They were trapped with no way out. The men tried to move the boulder, but it was too heavy. They had no tools, no help, and no way to call for assistance. They knew that only Allah could save them now. One of them said, "The only way out is to make dua and ask Allah to help us by mentioning a sincere good deed we did only for His sake." The first man's dua, honoring his parents. The first man raised his hands and said, "O Allah, I had elderly parents, and every night I would bring them milk before drinking, myself or giving it to my children. One night I was delayed, and when I reached home, they had already fallen asleep. I did not want to wake them, but I also could not bear to serve my children before them. So I stood there all night, holding the milk, waiting for them to wake up. O Allah, if I did this purely for your sake, please move the rock." Suddenly the rock shifted slightly, but not enough for them to escape. The second man's dua, resisting haram. The second man raised his hands and said, "O Allah, I loved a woman deeply, and I desired her in a way that was not halal. I even offered her money to be with me, and in desperation, she almost agreed. But at the last moment she said, 'Fear Allah and do not do this unlawfully.' So I stepped away, even though I could have fulfilled my desire. O Allah, if I did this purely for your sake, please move the rock." The rock shifted further, but the entrance was still not open enough for them to escape. The third man's dua, trustworthiness in wealth. The third man then raised his hands and said, "O Allah, I once hired a worker who did a job for me, but before I could pay him, he left. Instead of keeping the money, I invested it for him until it grew into a great fortune of livestock and wealth. Years later, he returned, and I gave him everything, expecting nothing in return. O Allah, if I did this purely for your sake, please move the rock." At that moment, the rock rolled away completely, and they were able to escape. Lessons from this true story. The power of sincere dua when we call upon Allah with pure intentions and good deeds. He answers, honoring parents. The man's respect and care for his parents became a reason for his escape. Resisting haram, leaving sin for the sake of Allah, brings His help. Being trustworthy, treating others' wealth with honesty brings blessings.
My dear brothers and sisters, these 3 men were saved not by their strength, wealth, or status, but by the sincerity of their good deeds, done only for the sake of Allah. When no one was watching, they honored their parents, resisted temptation, and remained trustworthy. And when they needed Allah most, He answered their call. So ask yourself today, what sincere good deed have you done only for Allah? Because on the day of judgment, it is not our words, but our pure intentions and righteous actions that will stand before us. May Allah accept our deeds and grant us His mercy. Ameen.